Hi, my name's Phil. I like talking about politics, and in this video I'd like to once again discuss the government's plans to enforce the UKCA mark as a replacement for the CE mark of standards quality in Britain, as we're now less than 2 months away from disaster if the government doesn't yet again postpone this stupid idea. But first, if you'd like to be notified of daily news and politics, please subscribe to the channel and click the bell notification icon. So I've had a few requests to update with the UKCA mark nonsense again. Seems to come round every year, doesn't it? Your wish is my command. As long as I want to do it, that is. So in the UK, over the past couple of years, we will have noticed the UKCA mark appearing alongside the CE mark on some products. It's not needed right now. It's just that some producers for whom the scheme can fit their business plan have put in the work to be ready for when it does become law. Because after all, every year the government keeps saying, oh, at the start of next year, it's by law, you can't sell anything in Britain if it don't have this mark. Like right now, although you can see the UKCA mark on some goods, it's not required. But there's absolutely no value in it at all. It's a vanity project for the Brexiteers. It's the result of this pursuit of Brexit purity, whereby the UK has nothing to do with the EU. Has to do everything on its own. No common purpose at all with our European neighbours and allies. Only it's very expensive. In reality, it's too expensive. This is why the move has already been delayed twice. The government's ultimate aim is for the UKCA mark to be required on all goods sold in the British market, but this is not a feasible policy. It's all right for some goods, but a lot of manufacturers will find it very expensive to register their products for the UKCA mark. The chemical industry, for example, they're looking at about £2 billion for all the registration needed. But whether it's chemicals or light bulbs or parts for a hospital x-ray machine, it will either be viable for a producer to lay out this cost or it won't. There will be manufacturers who only sell a small amount of their product to the British market. They will make products or components that are quite niche. There's not a need for a lot of them. There's enough of a need around Europe or maybe the world to justify going into business, but not enough just to outlay a load of cash for one single market. So it might not be profitable for them to bother getting the UKCA mark registration for the British market alone. And if it's not, it means those products won't be available for sale in Britain anymore, won't be legal. And so not for the first time, I'm going to explain why this is a problem. So I mentioned hospital x-ray machines. Let's go with that. So there are different kinds, of course. Not all hospitals will have exactly the same model. They're not the most common types of machines in the country. Very few places actually need a medical x-ray scanner. You know, like any machine, they need maintaining to keep them in working order. That means engineers need a steady supply of spare parts. But if some of those parts are manufactured by a producer who supplies, say, the whole of Europe, they may not sell enough to Britain alone to be worth the cost of this UKCA registration. It doesn't even matter if the producer is in Britain or the Netherlands or Belgium or wherever. If it's not profitable to pay for the UKCA registration for the amount they're going to sell to the British market, they won't do it. In fact, it would be a sort of black comedic moment in Brexit's history if imposing the UKCA mark meant that a British-based company had to stop selling their x-ray machine parts in the British market because of it. But what it would mean that as soon as that part is needed to keep a particular x-ray machine running, that x-ray machine will no longer run. It's knackered. And the same is true of lots of important machines. All the medical scanning machines, elevators, escalators, cars, lorries, you name it. There are always parts that are only needed in fairly small numbers in any one country, and it's not worth the cost of registration just for that one country. The European CE mark covers you throughout Europe. In fact, it's the gold standard around the world. So you get your product certified with a CE mark, and actually you're good to go selling it pretty much anywhere. The idea of the UKCA mark is that it only applies to Britain, not even the UK, because Northern Ireland will still have to carry on using the CE mark. So the government wants manufacturers to pay what are sometimes very high registration costs for the UKCA mark, which only certifies their products for Britain. That's it. England, Wales and Scotland, that's your lot. Doesn't work in any other market. as opposed to the CE mark that they've already paid to obtain, which works almost everywhere. And there's no need for it at all. We're not going to raise any standards above those of the EU. We don't need our own mark. The CE mark is always going to be a guarantee that the goods are fit for sale in Britain. This UKCA mark, like I say, is purely so Brexiteers can say we're doing things our way. British, innit? The current plan is that it comes into force in January. Yes, we've already seen some products with the mark, but the law would require all goods to have it. Now, if this happens, we'll find ourselves losing access to a whole range of products that are essential for our national infrastructure. Chemicals, machine parts being the most problematic. This is why the government keep postponing the plans, and surely will do again. If anything, we have a more pragmatic Prime Minister now, you would think, so can't imagine it's going to go ahead. That being said, the government should surely have announced something by now. They're leaving it a little late. Although they have left these sort of things late in the past as well. I mean, really, the scheme needs scrapping altogether because it has already cost us investment. You may say, well, as long as it doesn't come into force, what's the big deal? Well, businesses, as I keep saying, need to plan into the future. A recent article in The Guardian explained how British inventions are being brought to market in other countries for fear of the UKCA mark, meaning that they can't sell in Britain anyway. Because that's the thing. If you can't even sell to the British market, why would you manufacture it here only to have to put up with export barriers to the people you do sell to? For example, the larger European market. You wouldn't. You'd set up there instead. So even the threat of this UKCA mark coming into force has shifted investment out of Britain to elsewhere in Europe, say, or beyond. Because if they set up in the Netherlands, and they manufacture that, they can still sell to Britain. While the CE mark is still good in Britain, they can still sell to Britain. In fact, the trade barriers are much easier going from the EU to Britain than the other way around. But as soon as this UKCA mark comes in, if it ever does, they can just say, right, we'll have to forget about the British market. You know, the CE mark is a worthwhile investment. It meets the requirements of the highest standards market in the world, which means it's accepted throughout Europe, which is an incredibly rich source of customers, but lots of places around the world as well. You know, the UKCA mark is an expensive joke. Brexiteers not happy with the damage they've caused, taking the piss further to crush our economy. Because this scheme is another anti-growth measure. If it drives investment out of the country, it's an anti-growth measure. It is of zero practical benefit. It's not like it's a net negative. It's like Brexit. It's zero practical benefit. There's no upsides. It does tremendous harm, though, because even if a producer can sell enough into the British market to make the UKCA mark registration worthwhile, they still need to recoup the cost. That means their prices go up. Just as well, we don't have a raging inflation problem or anything, isn't it? Bottom line is that if this came into force January the 1st, 2023, the following happens. Some products just won't be available for sale at all. Because there'll be loads of manufacturers haven't got their UKCA registration. Why would they pay such a lot of money when at the moment, if you look at it sensibly, you can't really believe the government's going to go ahead with it. So it may well be that if it did come into force, some manufacturers go, oh, they've actually gone and done it. How crazy. Oh, we'd better get our registration sorted out because we do sell enough to the British market to make it worthwhile. So that'll take time. In the meantime, their products are not for sale here at all until it's done. And then when they return for sale, they'll be more expensive because, well, they want to recoup those costs. But then there'll be goods that'll never be available for sale because they don't sell enough to us, but we still need them. I'll use medical equipment quite a lot because they're incredibly important, but we don't have a lot of them. And if it means medical equipment is basically irreparable, you know, if you can't get the parts, you can't keep it running. This massively reduces the lifespan of those machines. You might have an X-ray machine that has a working life realistically of 20 years, say. But you might reduce that running time to like 2 years because the lifespan of any machine is always the same as the lifespan of the component you can't replace. In fact, if the part can't be sold in Britain because it's not worth the expense for the manufacturer, the entire machine can't be sold, of course. You can't even get a new one. And if you can't just say, Oh, well, we'll make our own then. Like I said earlier, it might actually be a British producer in this situation. Doesn't matter where the manufacturer's based, got nothing to do with where they're based. It's down to, can they sell that product in the British market? If they don't sell enough, if they're not going to make enough profit to cover the cost of that UKCA registration, they're not going to do it. Doesn't matter where they're based. Components for a machine that's not that common, like X-ray machines, electron microscopes and the like, may not generate enough sales to warrant the massive outlay needed for the registration. So what's the solution? The government pay for the costs of the Brexit red tape to get certification for certain products? The certain products where the government will cover it because we need them? Well, then the taxpayers paying another Brexit premium at just the time when our extreme Tory Brexit government is telling people we need to cut public spending and increase taxes to pay for the hole they blew in our economy. Which isn't true, by the way. I may have to talk about that more later today. But that's what they're telling us. Imagine telling the public that the government needs to find money to pay for registrations for a standards mark that isn't even needed because they've already got the CE mark, and the CE mark covers everything the UKCA mark does. So the products already bloody have the CE mark. So I'm sure the government will postpone the plans again. No other way. Absolutely balmy. There's no way of implementing this scheme. Not now, not ever. But as long as the government insists that it's coming, we're going to see more and more investment draining away from Britain. I noticed the construction industry has asked for a 2-year postponement. 2-year postponement. I wonder if they're just hoping it'll take them to the general election, then a Labour government who will hopefully just knock the idea on the head forever. But anyway, those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below. Hope you found the video interesting. If you did, please click the like button. If you'd like to support the channel further, the join button for memberships. And until next time, I'll see you later.